Hello guys, how you guys doing? I am going to be doing a video on the 5 biggest changes that Smite could make to revive Season 10. These are the 5 biggest changes. Obviously, you can see a lot of them are reverts, so that's why I don't think some of them will happen. Maybe some will. We don't know. But so let's go over it, and let's go over the history. First, let's start with the history of Smite, right? What was Smite known for? So when you look at Smite, why did it grow to be the 3rd biggest MOBA in its time? So it's for one reason, one reason only, right? It was, well, there's 2 reasons in my opinion. It was the first third-person MOBA, right? That really took off. Second, it was based around gods, like mythical gods, which people thought, the idea of Smite was genius on paper, and it deserved the amount of people that were playing at the time. And season 1 was great. They made some weird / wrong marketing decisions that kind of hurt the game's growth and hurt the game's international presence. But that's not what this video is about. So, but then that happened, and the game started to lose a little bit of traction. And then the devs of the game also made a lot of changes based off Reddit, where a lot of these people were not competitive players or any player, like they were just arena players that were complaining about the hard aspects of the game. And so they made changes catering to the casual audience of the game, because those guys were the guys buying the skins. I mean, everybody buys skins, but those guys are the guys that are buying the skins, and that's a lot of the population of the game. So why am I on my videos here? I'm going to be looking at older Smite to give you guys a comparison of what Smite used to be and what it is now, and how it's how the changes have changed the game a ton. So here we're going to start with the first one, new mechanics. What does new mechanics mean? So when I say new mechanics, no, it does not mean new characters with new mechanics. No. See, Smite's character design is very good. I think it's one of their strong points, in my opinion. I don't think it's better than League and Dota character design, but I think it's in contention. It can compete most definitely. It's not like very far behind at all. Their character design is good, in my opinion. So when I say new mechanics, I mean new mechanics on the map that impact the way you play the map. So, in Conquest, right? So, let's look at the last 10 years of Smite. It's about to be, well, probably more, right? It's been this season 10, but it was in beta for a very long time. So, it probably could be like season 12 or something. But, so in Smite, there has always been Gold Fury and Fire Giant. Always. In the history of Smite, that has been the 2 objectives of the game. Have they changed? No, not one bit. Yes, they have changed things that Gold Fury does in the sense of how it attacks you, or the other 2 Gold Furies that they added, which was Oni and then the green one and red one, which made a difference in the map play, but very minimal differences. As well as Fire Giant, they changed the way Fire Giant fights, which is minimal differences in how when you pull fire. It doesn't really change a lot of mechanics of the game, so they have always been the same. As well as red buff, blue buff, and speed buff have always been the same. So nothing has ever changed about this, and it's been 10 years. So I have been always thinking, like, why have they never thought of bringing new mechanics to the game? For example, like a different version of Gold Fury, or maybe the Gold Fury that gives a buff that stacks, or you can copy League of Legends if you want. You can take ideas from other games if you want, or you can make your own ideas to really bring back the way you look at the map, right? Everybody knows you take a fight, you win a fight, you go to gold. You take a skirmish, you win the skirmish, you go to portal after, or if they go to gold, you go to portal. It's already a formula. Everybody knows it. Everybody understands it. This game is played out almost like textbook. So with that being said, new mechanics can be things like for example, Smite has always had this mechanic where if a tower hits a minion, then the minion loses about like 70% of its gold when you kill it. correct? So what does this mean? This means that always the characters that can clear the way faster will have an advantage, which puts a lot of characters in the dirt, right? And why has this mechanic never been looked at? Why has this mechanic never even thought of changing just a little bit, right? If you simply change the amount of gold that you lose from a tower hitting it, it will change every character that is good. It will take away the fact that you pushing the lane very fast is very good. That's why you always see these characters like AMC come into the meta when it comes to Worlds. All these characters that push lane are always the strongest throughout Smite history. My question is why has this never been looked at? If you change the amount of gold you lose from the tower hitting it from 80%, just a simple change to 40% or even 30%, now the characters that are good completely change. The way you think about the game completely change. The way you play the game completely changes. But Smite has never thought this deep into it. I've asked the devs myself, why are we not looking at this? And they said they never thought of it. So that's kind of crazy to me. But, you know, I'm not running the game, so it is what it is. Another type of mechanic change that you can make, for example, is, let me think about the map. I mean, really anything. You can change the camps that are priority. You can change what the camps do when they fight. You can change anything about the game and it would impact in a positive way because Smite has not done this for years. So this would be a healthy way to bring back players that already know the ins and outs of Smite and want to learn new different things. You see, what keeps you playing a MOBA, right? It's the learning aspect, correct? Because Smite, if you think about a MOBA, you're actually replaying the same game in the same way, in the same form, correct? So what keeps you addicted? It's the fact that you're learning every time because it's a different situation with the same character and you're learning, right? That's what keeps you addicted. So new mechanics is most definitely a priority. This has to come out in Season 10. Everyone is bored of doing Gold Fury in the same way, in the same form, and everything is the same. Same as Fire Giant, same as the camps that you're farming, same as the way that the gold interacts with towers. These things need to change. And that is, I think, the priority. So DR Revert. What does this mean? Diminishing returns. What is diminishing returns? So for countless years, I had to explain what diminishing returns was to players in Smite because they didn't know. It didn't say anywhere what diminishing returns was. It didn't say it anywhere. They didn't explain it. So what is diminishing returns? So for example, if you get Thor stunned, right? And they say Thor stun is 1 second stun. The next time you get stunned, for example, Gebel, that is 1 second, it won't be 1 second anymore. It will be like 0.70 of the time being. So why is this a bandage fix? So what happens is, what is the counter to infinite damage, right? When you're talking about a character like Set, for example, right? A character that can almost kill 5 people if not stunned or dealt with, right? Stuns are the direct counter to characters with crazy damage, like Hebo, Set, you know, these type of characters that can just really take over the game if not stunned, and that's what stuns are there to do, right? And that's why CC chain is so amazing, because if you're able to CC chain someone, you're gonna kill them regardless of how many items they have, and that's the beauty of CC chain in MOBAs. So they did a thing called diminishing return, where it makes your stun less, right? Every time it also stacks. So for example, you get Thor stunned, right? Then you get Gebulted. The Gebult won't last as long. And then for example, you get Bacchus burped and stunned. That Bacchus burp lasts even less than the Geb stun did. So it's a way to get out of CC chains. Okay, why is this bad? Why should it be reverted? First, you can never calculate DR, correct? You won't be able to. So the DR lasts about 20 seconds, the buff. It's called a buff. It lasts about 20 seconds. So for example, if I'm doing my speed buff, right? And then I'm going to gank solo lane. And King Arthur, that's my solo laner, knocked up Herc, their solo laner. 15 seconds before I ganked, and then I ult him, how am I supposed to do the math and calculate the fact that King Arthur knocked him up 15 seconds ago, and now my ult is going to last 0.3 seconds less, so I'm going to have to change my CC, the way I combo my abilities. Do you see how that's a problem? Not only is it bad because it makes bad players better, way better than they are, because now they don't have to calculate anything, and players that would like to calculate is almost impossible. So this is a huge catering to players that are very bad at the game, and what it does is it puts good players at a disadvantage. If you want to improve at this game, it gives you one less opportunity to be better, right? So, not only that, DR is just a crutch, right? And they have buffed it this year. They have buffed it by a lot, right? And this is very bad for a game that needs CC chains, right? Even if you're in voice comms, even if you're in perfect synergy, the comms would literally have to be, hey bro, I knocked this guy up 10 seconds ago. He has DR. He has one charge of it. So when you ult, you're going to have to stun right after you ult to keep him CC chained so he doesn't proc his ult, for example. That is very unrealistic. It's a bad mechanic to have in the game. DR has never been good for the game. And not only did that, but they buffed it. So that's bad. This DR buff has to be reverted, and DR itself has to be looked at very intensely. Okay? Let's talk about number 3. 9.5 revert. This patch, correct? This patch, what did it do? What were the big changes? So one of the biggest changes was health increase on minions and base health increase on all gods. Okay? So what did this cause, right? This caused trying to kill someone becomes almost impossible if they understand positioning. So when you think about Smite, right, in season 7, 6, 5, 4, Smite was one of the highest mechanical MOBAs. Always thought of that way. I always said I came from Dota and League, and I said, damn, what caught my attention at first in Smite was, damn, the mechanics are so intense in this game, I can literally outplay every aspect of someone, right? Well, that changed with this. Because you would literally have to hit about 5 to 6 rotations of your abilities on someone for you to kill them, right? Realistically, that's not going to happen if someone understands what their character does and what your character does, which is pretty fair to think, right? If they're playing ranked or, you're a casual player, it takes away from the micro outplay and mechanical outplay of the game, which is why the game was so popular to begin with. And this patch, yes, the only good thing about this patch is that they made the late game better because you don't die on one single rotation of spells, which I think at 25 minutes, I don't think you should be hit by 3 abilities and die. But you killed the first 20 minutes of the game. I'm sure if any of you guys watch competitive or the Pro League right now, you have noticed that there is 3 to 4, 5 kills in the first 20 minutes of the game. Smite was never that, right? Smite is not meant to be that. Smite is a third-person MOBA. It is a fighter. The micro. So, how do I put this into words? If a MOBA is going to be slow, right? It has to have very high intense macro to make up for the boring micro aspect of the game, correct? Right? Dota at one point had a very slow methodical laning phase where it was very hard to kill the other person. It wasn't very hard, but you had to outplay them in many different ways. Well, because Smite doesn't have CSing, Smite doesn't have micro of laning phase, right? You don't control the wave. You just go and push the wave. What are you actually focused on? You're actually just hitting minions the whole game to outfarm them, and then not even outfarm them, just fight at FG. You're gonna take one fight at 25 minutes that is pretty much decide the game. So what you need to do for 9.5 is look at this patch and then look at this part of the game and make it scale. So putting so much base HP in the early game makes it for very low kills and very low action in a game with low macro. It is not fun at all. And I think I can talk for a lot of people that even watch SPL that you don't want to watch people farm for 20 minutes. It is not interesting. It's not fun. It's even the casters don't know what to talk about at that point. They're just talking about, if you listen to the casters closely, all they have to talk about is at 20 minutes, when these 5 guys group up, this team has an advantage, this team has a disadvantage. That is very boring. Nobody's ever played Smite for this reason. So they should make it scale and make it, because they did fix the late game where the team fights are interesting and back and forth. And now, and this would, it would help this change, right? Make it scale. So when you're level 20, you have a lot more HP than you did back in the day. But at level 1, having almost 800 to 1000 base HP is very boring. It is literally a mistake, you could say. So now we're going to go to the fourth reason, the fourth thing that that would bring Smite back. Invaders Curse. What is this? This has been, for me, one of the biggest things that killed Smite. Why? It has killed map play. Why? So, invading buffs and back camps as a jungler or any player or any laner was the way you play fast, right? Smite is meant to be played fast. And with that being said, the scary thing about, Smite being played fast is Snowball, which this would have fixed if they made it scale, but they made a mistake and then they killed Snowball. Like, there is no Snowball. When you have a lead, it's very hard, to keep it. It's fine. You can keep a lead about 3,000 to 4,000, but when you get to FG and delay FG, it becomes an even game, and it all is based on the FG. So let's talk about Invaders Curse, right? I, for example, see the jungler go to the right side of the map to gank duo. Before, you would invade to counter that. There was a counter play. But as soon as they put Invaders Curse, where you get less XP and less gold for taking their farm, it absolutely killed every play that you could do when the other person was ganking right lane, for example, or ganking duo. So now your only play is to either farm your side of the map and or respond to the gank. So what does this do? This makes bad players good, because they no longer have to worry about you invading, because they know that you will get less off the map because of this. Not only this, when they implemented this rule and they implemented this bandage fix, it was a completely different map. There was only one back camp. There was very little farm on the map, and that's why they implemented this. Also, there was people invading at level 1, and that's why they implemented this. But as soon as they changed the map in Season 8, Season 8, this had to die immediately. They had to look at this and be like, okay, this makes no sense, because there is so much farm on the map now. The map is much bigger, right? Invading should be allowed. This should be allowed. And they didn't look at it. They didn't even, I kept saying things about it. I think PBM is the only other person that ever talks about it. But they should have reverted this. But they didn't for about 2 years. And they're still going to bring this into the Season 10 map from what I know. And if they do not change this, it will make Smite very, very boring. I have talked to the top junglers about this, and they all agree on the fact that Invaders Curse is trash. It is trash. It is a baby mechanic. It's a bandage fix. It is weak. It is bad. And so that's what needs to go, in my opinion, as the fourth reason. Okay? Now let's talk about Brawler's passive and why it should be reverted. What is Brawler's passive, right? In the history of Smite, healers have always ended up at the top of the meta when it comes to Worlds, right? Or any competitive play. Why? Well, because it is harder to make a mistake when you have healing, correct? If you have no healing and you get poked, you're forced to back, means a 4v5 power play, and you easily win a 4v5. But with Brawler's passive, it was a bandage fix to healing. Now, when I say a bandage fix, what do I mean? I mean, it's a fix that they just slapped on to make sure to stop this. And that's not the way you do things in a MOBA. The way you fix healers being so broken, you really have to look at your items and make sure that the items are strong enough that it persuades you not to pick it, not pick 3 to 4 healers on one team. But because they did this, it also, what did it do next? It killed microplay. It killed microplay. How so? If you think about the top craziest outplays, it was always through life stealing. For example, a hunter like Uller has Aussie, has 20% health, is being chased in the jungle, is able to go to back camps and start life stealing because he knows that he has Aussie. But for some reason nowadays there is Brawler's passive, where now you do nothing, you don't sustain. It takes away a micro play that really showed how big your brain was and allowed you to outplay others through this. But as soon as they added Brawler's passive, now there is less outplay potential. Correct? So if you can see a trend of Smite devs, is that they're trying to make the game really easy, right? Where everyone is decent at it, regardless of other players being infinitely better and understanding microplay and understanding macro. So now let's zoom out. What makes MOBAs successful? Let's look at Dota. Let's look at League. It's their competitive. It's their pro league. It's the fact that so many people are playing their game because the pro leagues are so big. Everyone's trying to be the best version of themselves and eventually compete or compete even at the ranked level because it's fun. So if you're looking at the trend of Smite devs, is that they're really just trying to make the game easier. Now you have to ask yourself why. Why do they want to make the game so easy for everyone to be good at? Well, in my opinion, is that they understand that they kind of fucked up competitive, right? They fucked up the pro league. How? Well, they limited they picked the teams that play. Right? They picked the teams that play in the league. Right? This is a big problem. Now I'm going to tell you why. If you pick the teams that play in the league and there is no way to qualify in, because there's no way to qualify in the league, what happens to all the players that are playing ranked and want to be the best player? What happens to those guys? You kill their motivation. You kill their drive because there is no way to enter the league as a team. So what happens is less people care about ranked, right? And because the pro league, there is no way for them to be kicked out of the league, they no longer care about the way they play in ranked because they know that their spot is secure. So why even try in ranked? Just play scrims and then stream and just troll in ranked. So what happens to the ranked? What happens to ranked when that happens? Now, all the top players that are kind of like just having fun with it and kind of memeing, correct? And they're not competing. And now it kills ranked. And now that ranked is kind of killed and ranked means nothing. If you're GM or Masters right now, do you get respect as a player? No, because ranked was killed because of this. And now we're in Season 9 and Season 8, right? And now I think even Hi-Rez understands that, wow, competitive isn't bringing us money. Our pro league is not bringing us money. It's not bringing us the money we need to continue this game. And then they resort to, well, casuals are the ones buying the skins. Casuals is where we have all our players. Console is where we have a lot of our players. And then as they understood that, they started to do things like this because they know that the money is here in the casual base. So if you make casual players happier, then that means more income. And that's why I think they took the route of making the game easier, because they want more casual players, and more casual players equals more money. And so I think these were all big mistakes. And we hope for Season 10 to have a lot of these changes. I doubt we will get any of this. Maybe we get this at most, but we hope for the best. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.